I'm very sorry to tell you, is a senior here at Ohio State. Now you can take that two ways. We're mighty glad that he's completing his course here and graduating with high honors. But we're certainly mighty sorry to lose him as a member of the football team. All right, we have 4 minutes and 15 seconds of playing time remaining. Doggone, I'm anxious to find out what the scores are, Frank, so are you listening? Come on in.
All right, Tom, here we are with a few more. A final, Arkansas 14, Detroit 7. Boston College 37, Boston U nothing, final score. At the half, Baylor nothing, SMU nothing. At the half, Cincinnati nothing, Xavier nothing. First quarter, Clemson 6, Furman nothing. At the halftime, Dartmouth 13, Columbia 6. A final, Duke 47, North Carolina State nothing. Mississippi and Mississippi State nothing to nothing in the first quarter. Final, Fordham 20, Missouri 12. Halftime, Georgetown 7, George Washington nothing. In the fourth quarter, Harvard 3, Yale nothing. Final, Holy Cross 28, Manhattan nothing. Fourth quarter, Great Lakes 6, Illinois nothing. Halftime, Indiana 6, Purdue nothing. And now back out to Tom Manning.
Ohio's ball, first and 10, their own 21. Out in the flat is Feckerty. He's out the right flat. Stellinghouse is deep. Stellinghouse has the ball, and the Michigan end was sucked in that time, and Stellinghouse gets up over the 23-yard line. Looked like he was away for a moment. Michigan's left end was sucked in because Feckerty came out in the right flat, and then he cut back towards the center of the line. And the Michigan man who was out there covering him was sucked in on the play and looked for a moment at Stellinghouse, who was in the tailback spot, was able to get around Michigan's left end for a nice game, but he was finally knocked out of bounds on about the 24-yard line. Knocked out of bounds by Tommy Kuzma. It'll be second down and 7 for the Buckeyes, 15 yards in from the west side of the field. Michigan now playing a 6-2-2-1 defense. There is Feckerty. This time he's out in the left flat. The line shifts strong to the left. Again, the ball goes back to Stellinghouse. Stellinghouse carries the ball, tries to find a hole in the left side of the Michigan forward wall, but he's caught there by Frank Flegelman and Cy Hamill at the line of scrimmage on the 24-yard line for no gain. 3.5 minutes of playing time remaining. Ohio State 21, Michigan 7. 76,000 persons in attendance here, a capacity crowd. There have been larger crowds here. The L.W. St. John athletic director says never again. This is absolutely the capacity here at the Ohio Horseshoe, 76,000. All right, third down and 6, the Buckeyes singling, they shift left. Horvath deep, Feckerty is up. The ball goes to Horvath, and Horvath leads his interference, and he's being pushed all over the field down there by 3 of the Michigan boys, and the umpire's run over there now, and it's time to cut it out. He was pushed all the way from the 25-yard line and pushed out of bounds on the Ohio State 14. That was Bedard, Cy Hamill, and Bohr. Big rough fellas. The ball is brought back to the 25-yard line. It'll be fourth down for the Buckeyes. Fourth down and 6. Fading back in the safety spot for Michigan, Tommy Kuzma to the west, and Robinson to the right. Stellinghouse kicking from the Ohio State 15. There's the pass. There's the kick. It's a bad kick. Out of bounds. It's out of bounds around the 45-yard Ohio line. The handkerchief is dropped on the Ohio State 46. It'll be Michigan's ball, first and 10 on the Buckeye 46. A moment ago, we mentioned the capacity crowd here. Every ticket was sold early this week, 76,000 of them. But as it happened in Cleveland, a lot of the tickets were not used. I believe the attendance was pretty close to about 72,000. Right key formation, Michigan to the right. Tommy Kuzma has the ball and gets some nice blocks over there on the left side of the Ohio forward wall. And Kuzma moves up from the Ohio 46. He moves down over the Ohio 40, and he's piled up there on the Ohio State 38-yard line by Gene Feckerty and Les Horvath. Horvath coming up out of the Buckeye secondary. They have 1 minute and 58 seconds of playing time remaining. It's a quick opening play. The ball goes to the up back who is Cy Hamill, and a buck lateral. The ball goes back to Robinson. Robinson runs Ohio State's right end, and he bumps into Whip Snyder, who's in at right guard, and Leslie Horvath comes up out of the secondary again, and also Don McCafferty, who is in at left tackle. Referee carrying that ball out 15 yards from the west side of the field. He places that ball on the Ohio State 31-yard line. Michigan possession is 1st and 10. They shift strong to the right. The ball goes to Kuzma. Kuzma runs far to his right. There goes a long, desperate forward pass. It is knocked down and it's no good. George Lynn fading back there along with Sorry House, and the potential receiver was Don Robinson. He tried frantically to get that ball. He left the earth just 2 or 3 feet in the air. But there wasn't a chance in the world because George Lynn and Sorry House had him covered beautifully. Substitution, Lund going in at fullback for Michigan. L-U-N-D. Lund, a Detroit boy. He's 6'2", weighs 193. He's going in at fullback, replacing Don Bohr. Bohr wasn't in there for long, but he did a lot of boring to the Ohio State students and a lot of boring to the Ohio line. All right, Kuzma is deep. There's a fumble by Michigan. There's a free ball bounding around, and Kuzma is hit. And finally, the ball is picked up, I believe, by Wib Snyder. It was a single wing back to the right. Cyhammer playing up natural quarterback. He took that ball and tried a lateral pass to Kuzma. The ball trickled off the fingertips of Kuzma and bounded back to the Michigan 47-yard line. Kuzma tried to pick it up instead of falling on it. It then became a free ball for the second time, and finally Wib Snyder fell on the ball, and it's the Buckeyes ball. 42 seconds of playing time remaining. They're 14 points out in front. And now I see the referee is penalizing Michigan 5 yards for too many timeouts. And it's Tommy Kuzma going out and Bob Capias coming in. So it'll be Ohio State ball, 1st and 10 on the Michigan 41-yard line. Man, what a ball game this has been. I hope, ladies and gentlemen, you've enjoyed it. It's certainly been a tough ball game for the experts to pick. And it's been a great battle of lines and offensive backfields this afternoon. Ohio's ball single wing right. Sorry House in the tailback spot. Ball is finally passed. It goes to Feckerty. And Feckerty finds a hole in the forward wall. Moves that ball up several yards. 31 seconds of playing time remaining. There's still a pile of humanity there on about the Michigan 35-yard line. It is just a first down. The ball is moved first down. The ball is moved just a little bit over the 35 in Michigan territory. 18 seconds, 17, 16, 15. Ohio taking all the time they can. Ohio State 21, Michigan is 7. Here they come out of that huddle. There's 9 seconds of playing time remaining. Up over the ball comes Fitzroy. It's a single wing to the right. Sorry House is deep. Feckerty is up. And the ball hasn't been passed as yet. There it is. The ball goes to Sorry House. He's through the line. There's a crack of the guns, and the ball game is over. The final score, Ohio State 21 and Michigan 7. Ladies and gentlemen, what a ball game, and it has been a somewhat of a mild upset. You know, all of the experts throughout the country were picking the University of Michigan. Yes, the wise boys were spotting Ohio State points. A great many of them, about 85%, said that it was an even ball game. But finally, the Buckeyes came to the front again, and they have been crowned this afternoon the Western Conference champions. And ladies and gentlemen, that's really something in his second year of coaching. He came up from Massillon High School. His ability as a coach was not unknown to the football enthusiasts, but he came here, and it was not expected that Paul Brown would win a conference championship so early in his career of coaching a big-time football team. You know, he lost his entire backfield. He came up this year with Captain Lynn, Feckerty, Horvath, and Sorry House, and a great line. And now, the Ohio State Buckeyes, after defeating Michigan this afternoon by the score of 21-7, they become the Western Conference Championship. So congratulations are in order to Paul Brown and his great football team. Not only the first team, but the second and third team as well. Now, friends, in just a moment, we'll be back with the scores of the other games. Meanwhile, I'd like to remind you that if you enjoyed this football broadcast, the man to thank is your Atlantic dealer. Stop in at his place for Atlantic White Flash and that good Atlantic service that goes with it. Now, this is Tom Manning speaking. Once again, I should like to say thanks to one of the grandest spotters that ever sat alongside of we broadcasters, Jim Farman, senior here at Ohio State, and his residence, Elyria, Ohio. And on the other side, it is Dick Waterhouse. And Dick, I want to say to you, I know that you're a little downhearted, but fella, you played a great game of fullback on the fourth team yesterday. You did one of the most terrific jobs of spotting that I've ever had. Thank you a lot.
Thank you. I was glad to be here.
And
We'll be out next year to get those Buckeyes.
And next year you'll be perhaps the fullback on the first team. Loads of luck to you, fella. We're mighty proud of you, and thanks again for a swell job of spotting. And in the control booth is John Disbro, and picking up the music again this afternoon was Eddie Leonard, our chief engineer, and also Tommy Cox of the Cleveland Division. Well, that's the story from the gridiron here down on the field, ladies and gentlemen. If we attempted to describe what's going on for you, well, it'll take us about an hour. Naturally, with a near-capacity crowd, I understand the official figures are 71,896. All of the seats, 76,000 of them were sold, but of course, a lot of the folks stayed home this afternoon or couldn't get here for other reasons, but they missed a great ball game. And don't forget that Ohio State plays the Iowa Seahawks here at Columbus next Saturday afternoon. Once again, we'll be on the air to broadcast the color and the pregame activities at 2:15, the kickoff happening at 2:30. Well, that's the story from the capital of football, the capital of the state of Ohio. So until Monday evening at 6:25, this is Tom Manning saying, Frank Frederick, thanks, and come on in again.
All right, thank you, Tom. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's a recap on all the scores we have up to the present time. In the first quarter, it's Alabama 7, Vanderbilt nothing. At the half, Auburn 14, Georgia 6. A final, Arkansas 14, Detroit 7. Halftime, Baylor nothing, SMU nothing. Final, Boston College 37, Boston U nothing. Halftime, Cincinnati nothing, Xavier nothing. First quarter, Clemson 6, Furman nothing. Halftime, Dartmouth 13, Columbia 6. In the third quarter, Oklahoma A&M 7, Drake nothing. And ladies and gentlemen, that's a correction. Just came through on the wire. The correction, Oklahoma A&M 7, Drake nothing in the third quarter. A final score, Duke 47, North Carolina State nothing. Florida and Georgia Tech. In the fourth quarter, it's Georgia Tech 13, Florida 7. In the first quarter, Mississippi and Mississippi State a scoreless tie. A final score, Fordham 20, Missouri 12. At halftime, Georgetown 7, George Washington nothing. In the fourth quarter, Harvard 3, Yale nothing. Final score, Holy Cross 28, Manhattan nothing. Fourth quarter, Great Lakes 6, Illinois nothing. Halftime, Indiana 6, Purdue nothing. Halftime also, Tennessee 20, Kentucky nothing. Final score, Lafayette 7, Lehigh 7. And of course, you all know the Ohio State-Michigan final score. Ohio State 21, Michigan 7. Michigan State and West Virginia final score, Michigan State 7, West Virginia nothing. In the fourth quarter, it's Wisconsin 14, Minnesota nothing. Iowa Pre-Flight and Nebraska at halftime, Iowa Pre-Flight 20, Nebraska nothing. In the fourth quarter, North Carolina 21, Virginia 6. Halftime, Northwestern and Notre Dame 13-13. Halftime, Oberlin 14, Earlham nothing. And the final score, Ohio Wesleyan 13, Western Reserve 12. In the third quarter, it's Temple 14, Oklahoma 7. Final score, Penn State 14, Pittsburgh 7. Halftime, Army 20, Princeton nothing. First quarter, Rice and Texas Christian scoreless tie. Final score, Syracuse 12, Rutgers 7. Halftime, Toledo 14, Bradley Tech 7. In the fourth quarter, North Carolina Pre-Flight and William and Mary a scoreless tie. And for you Ohio listeners, Canton McKinley 35, Massillon nothing, and that's the final score. Here in the local spotlight, Latin and Collinwood. Collinwood 14, Latin 6, final score. Rhodes 34, St. Ignatius nothing, and that's also a final score. Here are two more just handed me. Oklahoma 28, Drake 6 in the fourth quarter, and the final, Temple 14, Oklahoma 7. Well, Atlantic will have another football broadcast for you next Saturday when Ohio meets Iowa Pre-Flight at Columbus. If you can't come to the game, be sure to tune in. And for now, this is Frank Frederick saying goodbye for your Atlantic dealer and the Atlantic Refining Company, makers of Atlantic White Flash and Atlantic Motor Oil, and thanking Wayne Byers and Johnny Finlayson for helping us out with the scores this afternoon. We now join the facilities of the National Broadcasting Company to bring you the latest news.